Hey guys and girls, my name is Alan and welcome to this gameplay commentary. So the match you're about to watch is an Apex mission. It is on bronze and it's called Deeper into the Ruins. And it's a continuation of an Apex mission that featured a couple of weeks ago. I think it was just the Remnant ruins back then. And basically that was just the initial room. And this mission that we're about to watch now is we go deeper into the ruins, hence the name, right? Really clever. And basically as you complete each wave, a new section of the map opens up. So you sort of progress through this. It looks like I don't know, it's like a big circle, I guess, but you don't actually go full circle, or do you? I can't remember. But basically, each section opens up and you go through it, and it's quite nice. It just means that the game moves forward a bit, like not necessarily an adventure, but it just feels like you're doing a bit more than just holding down one location, which is what the initial map was, which was a bit boring. But some people really enjoyed it just because of the fact you could have some really fast games on it. So yeah, this is actually my second attempt on this Apex mission. I didn't fail the first one before you start making funny jokes, despite the fact it is on bronze. I didn't fail the first mission. I'll actually put that in at the end of the video to show you what happened as to why I didn't complete it. But I'll show you, yeah, as I said, I'll add it at the end so you can check it out for yourself. But yeah, I had to do it twice, so this is my second attempt. And as you can see, I basically started on my own because I got fed up of waiting for people to join my lobby. They just wouldn't join. It was a few minutes and I thought, sod this, I'm just going to start my own. It's only bronze anyway, I could solo if I wanted to. But I know some people don't like that, but trust me, if you're in the situation that I am where you end up waiting for minutes at a time and nothing happens, you just think sod it and just start on your own. Because I'd rather play on my own to start off with rather than wait however long it takes for players to drop in, or maybe not even drop in. You know, that's the situation that I'm in at the moment. I don't know if that's to do with the way that matchmaking has changed in MEA, but in ME3 I never felt, I don't know, I don't recall having to wait that long to find players, you know what I mean? I don't know, again, maybe it's just because the player base isn't there. I know it's definitely not as popular as ME3, so it could just be that there's not enough players to go around, therefore you spend a lot of time waiting for lobbies. I don't know, I can't really make excuses for BioWare and MEA. There's a variety of reasons. Obviously it's not as popular, that's one of them. They've made some changes in matchmaking, it's definitely another, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I've just been unlucky, but in several matches, not just this one, and across all difficulties as well, and if anything, bronze should be the easiest to find a match, and it just wasn't on that particular instance, so I don't know what it is, but that's one of the things that really bugs me about this game, is I have to wait so long to the point where I just give up and just play on my own for a bit. And as you can see, the wave hasn't come to an end yet, but I'm getting players drop in, and this is what usually happens across all the difficulties. Sometimes I would have to get to sort of wave 3 on my own, which is a bit of a pain, but I mean it's doable. And again, I'd rather spend those few minutes playing rather than sitting in the lobby waiting and doing nothing and potentially not getting a game started for another few minutes after the fact. So, you know, it is what it is, but you know, it's just something you've got to put up with, and hopefully with all the updates and DLCs they release in the future, if any, that will also bring more players back and entice more players to play on a regular basis. So I suppose that's a good place to start, is that there was a patch released, 1.08, and it's now out. I did do a breakdown of the patch notes as I always do on Acorn Vision. So head over there, check it out. I'll also link it in the description. I'll link it on the screen now as well, so you can see all the changes. In my opinion, it's not as significant as 1.06, but it still changes the gameplay in certain areas, you know, to the point where you notice a difference, which is a good thing, and it does make it in general better than it was before obviously 1.08 came out. So the notable things are the recoil of weapons and the spread of fully automatic weapons in particular has been altered and reduced, so they're now more accurate from, you know, mid to long range, as they should be. And I think obviously because you hit targets more often with your shots, you do more damage, and that just means enemies go down a little bit quicker, which again is good, and it should have been from the start. And another thing they've also done is they've changed some of the powers slightly. Not a lot of them, just tweaked some things here and there. Overload springs to mind, and the rage tree for the Krogans has also been dramatically changed as well. So some stuff to try out if you haven't played for a while. As I said, hopefully this stuff brings players back and entices more players to play on a regular basis, because that's what this game needs. Players to play more consistently and to play more regularly, because otherwise you spend a long time waiting for matches, sometimes you don't find them, and then, you know, in that basically just means that you don't want to play then either, so even more players drop out, and it just dwindles and dwindles and dwindles. Right, so as well as making changes to the gameplay, as we've just talked about, they added a few new items to the game as well. So one new character called the Angaran Exemplar, and a few new weapons. Well, I say new, they're basically updated versions of the common version weapons, and they've made them gold tier instead. So they've now cluttered up the gold pool even more, and I have to waste more time in packs buying stuff that I don't really care about or want to use in particular. So yeah, I wasn't happy about that. It was a bit of a surprise for all of us really to see that being introduced, those S versions. So I mean, some of them are better, don't get me wrong, than what they are in the common versions, but I'd rather see new weapons, not just, you know, higher damaging old weapons, if you know what I mean, recycled. And as well, they've cluttered up the gold tier, which I don't really see the point. There's already so many weapons in that pool that aren't that good anyway, so they could have improved those instead, but no, they just decided to add more crap. Well, as I said, some crap, some usable, but still not new weapons, you know, new anyway, so I was a bit annoyed about that. Another thing that I haven't talked about yet is the fact that there's not going to be any big DLC drops for Andromeda. Now, if you played ME3, you were sort of familiar with the fact that once every few months there'd be this big DLC drop, and it'd get the fan base really hyped, really excited. We'd get a nice trailer for it, and people would be playing, you know, quite extensively when the weekend came where it dropped out. Well, when it dropped in rather. And yeah, so we're not going to get any of that for Andromeda, which is a big shame, because that was one of the things I really enjoyed about ME3. Just, you know, being excited with the rest of the community, waiting for the new stuff to come out, and then enjoying it and unlocking it. And, you know, it was like playing a mini new game every few months, because all this new content was suddenly available in the store. You could, you know, take your time to unlock it. Some people obviously managed to save up hundreds of, well, not hundreds of millions, but hundreds of thousands, and, you know, some people did save up many millions to buy all this DLC stuff on day one. And I wasn't fortunate enough to be one of those people, because I played the game a lot, but I didn't play it to that point where I had so much credits, and I didn't play from the start either, which didn't help. So when I first joined, I think it was a couple of months after launch, so I think maybe already one of the DLC packs was out. So I already had a long ways to go, I remember that, but I still had fun playing it, and I enjoyed unlocking all the characters. And then once I got to the point where I was in the crowd waiting for the next DLC to come out, you know, not including ultra rares, because I was still unlocking those, but just to unlock the normal versions and the you know, the rare versions of characters and weapons. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. So it's a shame that that's not going to return for MEA. I think if you didn't experience that during ME3, I think you are going to be missing out on something. But there's a lot of things that MEA doesn't do nearly as well. In fact, it does a lot of things a lot worse than what was done in ME3. DLC drops is one of them, but there's no community events and stuff like that. And so I feel like I feel glad to have experienced it in ME3, but at the same time I feel sad knowing that we're not going to get that in MEA. And I know it's a slightly different studio. Well, in fact, it's a completely different studio, I think, who's made MEA. And yeah, just very disappointing, and just add it to the long list of things that have disappointed me about this game. But, you know, let me know in the comment section below if you've got any thoughts you'd like to share with me regarding this. I know a lot of people have already said it, a lot of my friends have said it as well, that it is different, and different in a bad way, not necessarily a good way either, so it's a bit of a shame, but it is what it is. Having said that, there was some talk about whether this game was going to be continued to be supported over the next few months, maybe a bit further into the future, and obviously because the studio, well, BioWare are working on a new IP. It was previously called Project Dylan, now it's been revealed during E3 as Anthem. And the best way that I can describe it, if you've not seen the trailer or gameplay, well, gameplay inverted commas, of Anthem, is that it's basically a third-person version of Destiny. It's probably the best way I can describe it. So if you like Destiny, then you might be interested in this game. It's sort of sci-fi-ish. I mean, you don't have special powers per se, but you use exosuits to traverse like the environment, and they have special powers, so they have special weapons and abilities. And so it's sci-fi is what I would say, but the environment it's set in, so there's also, funnily enough, you're behind a big wall which is safe, and then you go out into the real world and you have to wear the suits to protect yourself and stuff. But the thing that caught my attention was there's these big animals, like monsters, dinosaurs, I'm tempted to say even, so that was quite intriguing. But having said that, BioWare have lost a lot of credibility in my eyes with MEA, and I know it's a different studio who've worked on this game, but it's the same family, right? If someone in my family is messing up, I'm going to be tainted with that, and that's what BioWare's done at the moment. They've lost a lot of credibility with myself, so it's definitely a game that I'm intrigued to see more about. But in terms of pre-ordering, getting it day one, paying full whack for it, even buying it brand new, unlikely. I'm definitely going to be waiting out to see, you know, what the initial reviews are, to see if it's worth the money. As I said, I'm not going to pre-order. I'm definitely not paying full whack for it on day one. I might even get it secondhand off eBay, and I know that that does hurt the company in some way. But you know, at the end of the day, they've put themselves in that position. They burnt me a little bit, and now I'm just treating their next, you know, IP with a bit of caution, and all of their future games with a lot of caution. If they happen to release another Mass Effect game, you can be damn sure I'm not going to be buying that day one, and I'm going to be waiting to see what the reviews are. And even if my friends get it, just to find out what they think of it firsthand before I part with my hard-earned cash. So yeah, that's just my thoughts and opinions and feelings on the situation in terms of BioWare. But I mean, they've got a chance to redeem themselves a little bit. I mean, the damage is already done, right? But they can continue to work on MEA to add more content, to improve the game, to, you know, to raise it to sort of the level we expect to see from a BioWare game, and to get it to some sort of level that was ME3. And I know a lot of people keep banging on about how good ME3 was, but that was a good game, and you know, I spent a lot of time playing that game, and you know, thinking back now, I don't know how I managed to play so much of that game and not get bored. Whereas in MEA, I've only played, I don't know, a fraction of the time, and I'm already starting to think, yeah, I might play something else now because I'm getting a bit bored. And it's really a shame, and there's several things as to why that is. There's not a lot of variety in terms of characters. There's not a lot of variety in terms of weapons. I guess certain characters and weapons do really well, and therefore you get, you know, pulled towards using them on a regular basis. But then you've got to think about why the other stuff isn't working as well, and they need to be improved on. And so time will tell to see if BioWare continues to improve this game. Hopefully they do. As I said, they are continuing support for the game. They have come out and said that they're going to add content, you know, well, hopefully more regularly, but not in big drops, which is a shame. But you know, I guess it means that they continue to work on the game, which is a good thing. But yeah, I feel like in ME3 you had a lot more variety. I could run around and do a lot more things with a lot more characters, using a lot more weapons. And yeah, I didn't always, you know, do amazingly well with all the kits and weapons, but I was still pretty decent. You know, and I wouldn't have used them if I weren't decent with them. Whereas in MEA, it's like there's a handful of stuff that I use and I do really well with, and the rest of it is like, well, I have to put a lot of effort into playing it to do well, and it's sort of, it just doesn't make for very fun games if that's the case, and so that's why I don't really use them. Right, so this video is coming to an end, and I realise I haven't talked about the character or the weapons at all, so I need to try and squeeze it in the last minute or so. So the character I'm using is the Turian Havoc Trooper, and unlike his ME3 version, he doesn't actually have the Havoc strike, so I don't really get where the name's coming from. It's like they've just used the same character but changed the powers and didn't bother changing the name. They just thought, sod it, we'll go with that. Typical Andromeda. But basically his powers include Incinerate, which, well, incinerates Incinerate, and Turbocharge, which obviously increases the rate of fire and accuracy and damage if you spec it that way, and clip size as well. And it works really well with the weapon I'm using, and that's the Revenant LMG. This is one of the weapons that has been improved with patch 1.08. The buff to the accuracy makes it more viable now. As you can see, I'm using it quite well. Again, this is all bronze, but same can be sort of applied to gold. And his second power is Flak Cannon, and Flak Cannon was improved with 1.06, which is why I'm starting to use this character a bit more. And yeah, I see why people have turned their views around of said power, because it was pretty average before. Now if you spec it in a certain way, and I'm still playing around with it, but it's definitely great for crowd control and to just fire into groups of enemies and just see them all get exploded or staggered or stunned for you to, you know, come in and mop up. So it's one of those powers where as you use it, you do appreciate it a bit more. And I think that's about it. LMGs and full auto weapons in general are a lot more effective now when fired from cover, so I'd advise doing that in general. But even outside of cover, they are a bit more accurate as well, so you can sort of hit targets at a little bit further range than you could before. But again, it all comes down to how you play. So try and hug cover. That obviously makes your weapons a hell of a lot more accurate. But outside of cover, they're improved as well. So that is that. Right. So that will wrap up today's video then. As you can see, I did pretty well. I did start on my own, so you can probably take off a couple of thousand if you want to be fair. But I think I still pretty well regardless. The scoring, as you can see, is a little bit different. So the menu in the game counts all the medals and stuff, I think, whereas when you're on this screen here, it only shows you what you get in terms of kills. I don't understand. They should have it either consistent or not have changed. They've changed something basically to make the scores look different. But anyway, that'll do it for today's video. If you enjoyed the content, consider tapping that like button. I really do appreciate it. If you've got any thoughts you'd like to share with me regarding stuff I've talked about or anything else you've seen in the video, then let me know in the comment section below. Just one last point before I leave you, and that is, if you're interested in Uncharted 4 multiplayer, there is a DLC out at the moment. A surprise DLC drop occurred earlier in the week. I have talked about this again on Acorn Vision. I'll link the video in the description. I'll also link it on the screen now, where I talk about the additions to the game. It's not a massive DLC drop, but it was an unexpected one. So if you're interested to see what's included in the game, as I said, check out the video. But I'll also be doing a DLC pack opening, as I always do after a DLC drop, for Uncharted 4 multiplayer, and that'll probably go up at the end of this week or the start of next week, and then hopefully I'll get some decent gameplay with the new content, and of course I'll upload it to this channel if I do. But yeah, stay tuned. I think I'll be doing a Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer pack opening soon as well. I think I've accrued a decent amount of credits, and I might spend some of it, hopefully get some new stuff. So yeah, I'm just going to leave this video to play out now. This is what happened at the end of the previous match, and you'll see why I didn't manage to complete it the first time round. But yeah, until next time, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, take care, and I'll see you later.